Hey, welcome back to a Rocket Refuel. We're doing a little in between episode for the main episodes, and today got a little bit of a skeleton crew, but Dan Rocketman Savage is gonna update everybody on some midweek basketball news and the upcoming schedule. So, without further ado, I'm gonna turn it over to Dan.
What's up? What's up, everybody? To be honest, overall, great week for Toledo athletics. Men's basketball 2-0, women's basketball 2-0, and then for the for those who are really in deep, they follow the pro careers of some of our ex players, and we had at least one. We'll see how this Rams game goes as far as some other NFL players that we've had, but Quinyon Mitchell tore up my Green Bay Packers, and if anybody was going to do it, I'm not happy it was the Eagles, but it was Quinyon who was kind of the star of the show. He was targeted 6 times, which is actually a lot for a wide receiver against him. But Green Bay's wide receivers were all, know, dying left and right. He only gave up 2 catches and had an interception to seal the game for the Eagles. And that kid right now, he's third in the NFL in defensive snaps. I mean, he's never coming off the field. Darius Slay for the Eagles got hurt in that game, and Quinyon had to pick up even more slack. Cooper DeJean's great, but I think, in my opinion, Quinyon Mitchell is your defensive rookie of the year. Uh, do you know when they vote for that? It's I think the stats are supposed to be done, but is that like a pre-Super Bowl week thing?
Yeah, I believe so. Around Pro Bowl, I'm sure.
Okay, so I feel like if the playoffs matter, which they maybe should for an award like that, Quignon's going to have a chance here to keep elevating his stock. I hope he wins it. He's been incredible. Just so proud to see just the way he carries himself. He's been a fantastic. He's a Pro Bowl alternate, which I think he should be a starter, but probably the best rookie year of any Toledo football player ever. Um, First rounder, I mean, I guess we could expect it. I called it during the draft. I said he's the best player to ever come out of the MAC. So, again, sad my Packers are out, but I'm glad that Quinyon kicked our ass a little bit.
I mean,
Um,
that's a bold statement though, with you have a recent guy like Antonio Brown, and you have
yeah,
Kareem Hunt, who's, definitely in his first couple years with Kansas City, made some waves.
yeah, and I mean, you could talk about there's like Jack Lambert. I mean, there's a bunch of like high
Sure.
end Hall of Famers that were much before my time, but still Quinyon was that's a bold call. And so far, all pros for his first year. I mean, can't really do much better. And then Deontay Johnson, another ex-Rocket, he got traded over to Houston a couple weeks ago, and Houston advanced. They beat the hell out of the Chargers, and DJ had a 1 catch for 12 yards. So I think maybe if he learns that offense a little bit more, he might be a bigger part of the offense there in Houston.
Yeah, and
CJ
Houston has
Stroud,
had injuries off and on with a couple of receivers through the years, so who knows what
yeah,
will happen in the playoffs, and maybe he'll get some more playing time.
yeah, CJ Stroud needs all the help he can get. I mean, I think they threw to 9 different guys, so I'd imagine a guy like DJ, who was the Steelers' number 1 or 2 for 4 or 5 seasons. He'll work his way into the rotation more as the playoffs go on. Transitioning into women's basketball, like we said, it was a 2-0 week. I went to the Kent State game at home, which was a big game. Kent State was our number 2 in net ranking team in the MAC going into that game, and Toledo stepped on their throat from the very beginning. We were up 22-8 after the first quarter. We won the second quarter, and then Kent kind of came back. But the thing I think that was the big part in that victory was holding Kent State to 11% from three. Toledo, in my opinion, is a shooter's gym. I think teams generally shoot pretty well. I think we always shoot better at home too. And to hold a team like that, Kent State team, to 11% from three was huge. Um, I mean, that was also our 900th win in program history, which is the number 1 women's basketball program in the MAC as most wins ever. And I think Bowling Green's close there behind. But uh, also starting this week, 2 of our big rotation pieces were out. Kaden Steikstra, point guard, and Hannah Novorowski, our center. She's been coming off the bench, but hopefully they get back. I don't know if it was that illness that seems like everybody has right now, or if it was something more serious like an injury. But to go into that game losing, two of your top eight and still to just play lights out was great. In that game, Cook had 11 down low, which was one of her season highs for sure. Kira Goss had 12. Destiny Robinson had 10. The freshman from Fremont Ross, shout out Rocket Ryan. She's stepping in point guard duty, and she's playing really well just to fill in. And who knows, she might be stealing some minutes from Caden Dykstra. And then on Saturday, we went on the road to Mount Pleasant, which is generally a tough place to play at. They probably have the second biggest fan base outside of Toledo. And they had 1,100 fans there, big Toledo contingent, awesome travel by us. But CMU's women's program has been quite down lately.
Yeah.
They had two freshmen, though, that had 19 apiece for CMU. So I think the future is bright if they can keep those players there at Central. But Sammy McConowitz was the player of the game. She had the final 7 points. Toledo ended up winning by 6. And, she was just everything. She plays so hard. She hit 2 like NBA step backs in the last minute to push us over the edge there. And it's great to see that we have a 5th-year leader helping in all these freshmen that are rotating. And we're playing 10 or 11 girls. So after that first start to Northern Illinois to start MAC play, we're now 3-1. And the league is going to be wide open for that number 2 spot. I think Ball State is going to be for sure your 1 seed. Their net ranking is 54th, which is very impressive. Toledo's down in the 140s, but their schedule has been very odd. They played 2 Big Ten teams, so in Quad 1 they're 0-2, and just because the teams that they played neutral and at home, they've played no Quad 2 games or no Quad 3 games, and we're 8-1 in Quad 4. But you beat Kent at home, who's a good team. You beat Liberty on a neutral. Those are good wins. I think this women's basketball team is going to peak at the right time. We'll just see if we can, maybe steal one from Ball State or Buffalo as the season moves on. But the upcoming games this week for the women, we go to Western Michigan, and they're 6-8. They're 3-1 in the MAC, but they've beaten down some of the worst teams. But remember, that's the team that Toledo knocked out of the MAC tournament last year. So Western Michigan's going to be ready for us. They're, if you have some juniors that they remember that MAC tournament, they're going to be like, okay, this team ended some of my buddies' careers. So that'll be a fun one at Western on Wednesday. And then Saturday, they play a down Ohio Bobcats team who's 3-11 overall, not having a good year. But it's the Justice for Sierra game. So that's a big one for this women's program. It has been the last few years. We wear like purple and white uniforms. Basically, it signifies like child safety and awareness. So you can look up the story of Sierra, but if you got nothing else to do on Saturday afternoon, go to the ladies' game. They're expecting, over 5,000 fans, so that should be a good one there. Also in women's basketball news, we have our Sun Belt Challenge Part 2 opponent, which it's not going to happen for a few weeks, but Toledo will travel to Old Dominion. They just do it based on your net rankings or RPI and kind of who you would stack up against 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2. I think Toledo's maybe the 4 versus 4 game. So if you're trying to, maybe nudge up to a 13 seed in the NCAA tournament, something like that, this would be a big game to prove your worth. And especially with Toledo, who has a pretty gaudy overall record at 11-3. So that's what's happening in women's basketball. Over to men's basketball, we'll start off with our sponsor, City Hall Bar and Grill, where classic American flavors meet great times. So head over there anytime, especially if the men are on the road, which they are twice this week. Go over there, get yourself a burger, a foul shot, jump shot, whatever that shot is that they're making for us. Good stuff.
It'll be good.
Great food over there.
Whatever it is, it's going to be good.
Yeah, say what's up to
I
John
know
Loft.
we tried like 3 or 4 different options when we were picking it, and all of them were fantastic. So it's going to be good.
Perfect. It was perfect to do a pre-show that day too. We were a little buzzed.
It got us a little loose.
A little bit. Now, some stats overall for the men's basketball team just so far this year. Sonny Wilson, sophomore guard, he leads the team in points, 15.3 points a game. He's shooting 53% from the field, pretty good. 4.4 rebounds as a point guard. I mean, that's pretty damn good. The dude loves to crash the defensive boards. Love that. He's having a good year. Emerging, he was a backup player last year, Sam Lewis. He's averaging 14.3 points per game. He leads the team in rebounds at 5.7 rebounds, and he's shooting 44.7% from three. And we saw a little bit this week, him and Bryce Ford shooting from three is helping out this team in MAC play, like a team for Toledo that really hasn't shot the ball very well this season. So love to see that. And then also, Simmons down low, 11.7 points. He's second in rebounds at 5.1. We want to see that number get up a little bit. But with him and Owinga and Burchick playing, he's not getting the minutes he was last year. I mean, he was playing almost all game unless he was in foul trouble last year. Now he's got a little bit of a rotation, so keeping him more fresh. Obviously, we love his game, but I expect his rebounding numbers to go up this year and maybe even his points per game as we even shorten our bench more, which is what our men's basketball team seems to do most years as we go through conference play. And then the other addition to our starting lineup is Ben Bryce Ford. He came off the bench early in the year. He started the last two games, and he's been shooting really well. So that's a good spark. We just need our bench to pick up the scoring, whether that's Seth Hubbard or Andre Lawrenson. Someone else has got to score off that bench. Those starters can't do it all. But last week, Tuesday, we started off against Eastern Michigan at home, and actually, there's a kid from Eastern who's a Rogers High School kid, Nelson, and he really wanted to beat the Rockets. The dude played his ass off. He had 20 points. You could tell he was mad that he was overlooked in the recruiting process. But a kid that also went to like a JUCO and then ended up at Eastern Michigan this year. So it was cool to see him there. Cool to see his family and friends there. There was like a real rivalry sense in the arena when the game was going back and forth late in the game, which is cool to see with Eastern Michigan because I do kind of look at them as a rival in basketball. But Toledo won 90-87, high scoring game. Eastern Michigan shot 55.4% from the field. It's not going to get it done, guys. Toledo defense, you've got to play better. Maybe that message got through to the Central Michigan game as we played a lot better defensively. We only gave up 67 points against CMU. And CMU is decent. I think them and Eastern are going to find themselves right in the middle of the pack this year. But, if anything, this Toledo team, I mean, the offense in the MAC, there's probably one good offensive team, and that's Ohio. And the rest of the teams are kind of built like us. So we're going to have to step it up, at least play hard. That's all you can really ask for. As a dude that played high school basketball a little bit, I hate the defensive philosophy. I don't like switching on screens. I'd rather you play hard through the screen. But I'm not a coach, so we'll see if we can, pick that up as the season comes on here.
One thing I noticed with both teams is if you look at the players that played the most, top 2-3 players with minutes, their free throw percentage is 60 to 70%.
Yeah.
And if you could even boost that 5-10% on your average through the year as you go along, that could easily win you a few close games. And I sound like an old man talking about work on your free throws, but if you look at your game, that's one of the things that you can really work on and, increase consistently and quickly.
For sure. And like our women's game, against Central Michigan Saturday, we missed 13 free throws.
Yeah.
We won by 5, but that game we probably didn't need to have Sammy, score the last 7 points in the last minute or so to kind of come back and win that game. You just make your free throws. And even she split her last 2 chances at the line. And the men are basically the same way. I mean, Sonny Wilson's shooting like 60-some% from the line. That's not going to get it done. But Isaiah Adams, one of our other better players for the men, he's shooting 90%. So why don't we figure out a way to get him to the free throw line more? Seems like that could help us. So the men, they beat up Eastern Michigan by 3. They beat up CMU, kind of. And now we're going Tuesday to play a very good team in Akron, to the Jar, James A. Rhodes Arena there. And their last two games, they also played Central Michigan and Eastern Michigan. They beat CMU by 16, and they beat Eastern by 24. So this is a big one. Todd Kowalczyk's actually done very well against Akron in his career. But last year, the Zips did get us in Akron. So it's a little bit of a revenge from, going up there last time. But, you know, I don't expect many teams to go 14-4 or something like that in the league.
Right.
This game would go a long way in staying above 500 if we could steal one in Akron.
Yeah, and unfortunately, right now, I think Akron's undefeated at home, and I think they're favored 7.5 at this point. Probably
Mhm.
won't change much by game time, but they're definitely a good team right now.
Yeah, and they do it, similarly to um, kind of Akron, maybe not Akron last year, but Akron teams of yesteryear that would consistently make the NCAA tournament. They've got 11 players that play over 10 minutes a game. So they're just going to play really hard, throw new guys at you. They've got a bunch of
Fresh
guys that
legs.
shoot,
Yeah,
yeah, shoot over 35% from three. A lot of shoot like just guards that come off and can hit shots, and we give up a lot of open threes. So we're gonna have to figure out ways to close out and box out and make sure there's no second chance opportunities at Akron. And then Saturday, the Rockets stay on the road and they go to Muncie and they play Ball State. And this Ball State team started off very, very poorly, but they brought back a guy that you guys might remember from a couple years ago, Peyton Sparks. He was a freshman. I think he was freshman of the year in the MAC a few years ago. Transferred to Indiana, had no playing time last year, a couple minutes a game, and now he's back and he's in the sync of things. And he's had 19 points for the last 5 games, and that's a 6'10" dude down low that might cause some problems that we haven't seen a lot of this year. But good thing for us about Ball State is they don't shoot the ball very well. They have, really one starting guard that can shoot. His name's like Juanse. It's something Gorisado. He's from Argentina. Other than that, they want to play good, pick and roll, cut to the hoop, smash inside, get to the free throw line. Um, Toledo's not careful. They can go 0-2 this week. And that's something we don't want to see after the strong start. Um, let's see, what are our standings here on the men's side? We've got Miami, Akron, Ohio, and Toledo all at 3-0. So something's got to give here this week. I think Miami's the real deal. Well, we'll see them later in the year. I think Todd's won 17 or 18 in a row against the Red Hawks, which is insane. And
crazy.
I think Ohio and Akron are both pretty good too. So Kent and Ball State are 2-1 right behind us. So it's a long season of attrition. We've kind of already figured out who our 8 players are going to be on the men's side, and you just got to see more scoring from our bench. And that's really like what we got upcoming here for our short little refuel. We do know our Sun Belt Challenge opponent on the men's side, which for the men, we will be hosting a Sun Belt team. I remember we went to Troy to open the year. We lost that game, and we'll be getting James Madison at home, which is, I believe, our fifth MAC team versus the Sun Belt's fifth team right now for net rankings. So they're probably going to be favored coming in. And, Todd Kowalczyk's talked about it many times. He hates this game, how it's in the middle of conference play and it screws everything up. Well, this year, the second half in February is at home. So we'll be the ones staying at home, sleeping in bed, and JMU is going to have to come here and deal with our hopefully rowdy crowd as Toledo's like 10-0 in conference play.
Yeah, right.
Um, and that's really it for me. I do have a score prediction for our women's basketball game against Ohio on Saturday. Do you have one?
Yeah, you can go first.
Okay. I'm going to go with a good defensive effort, scoring basically about our average. We're going to win this game 75-53 against a real down Ohio Bobcats team. and hopefully they auction off the jerseys and everybody goes home happy for a great cause Saturday at 2 o'clock.
Yeah, I was about around the Akron score, even though we lost, but I'm gonna say like 75-62. Like I think it's
Okay.
gonna be a good win. I
Hell
actually
yeah.
think women are gonna go 2-0 this week because
I I
I
would
believe this
project that
episode
as
will
well.
come out on Wednesday, which was when they play Western. So
Yeah. Yeah, the women's schedule is kind of breaking nicely. It's good to see that Bowling Green's not great for the men or the women this year, which always makes me happy. So even if, one of our teams ends up near the middle of the pack, hopefully Bowling Green's down there behind us.
sorry, correction, women beat Akron, not lost, but
Yeah, we
um,
killed Akron.
yeah, pretty much similar score. But
Yeah. Yep.
yeah, big. We were talking about it before the show, but big shout out to Sammy though because I was kind of looking over the stats and she's leading in rebounds, which is just shows her style of play just 110% all the time, and she's always been that way. So it's really interesting to see a guard lead in rebounds.
Yeah, I mean she's down in minutes this year to probably about 35 minutes out of 40 per game. We're still playing everybody and she's still playing a lot.
Right.
Yep. That's all I have. If you have anything else, they're kind of in a
Nope.
downtime right now, so
Yeah. Next week we'll try to get a full show on with all the guys and do a solid recap, and just like we did today, we'll look ahead on the schedule.
sweet.
Hopefully, get some more Quinion news in the playoffs.
Well, you don't want too much news because that means that they're playing the Lions coming up
Next
in two
week's okay.
weekends.
Next week's
Yeah,
okay.
for sure.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you tuning in. A little bit of a short update today, but we'll catch you next week, and we appreciate you tuning in. To you well.
EDO.